You wanna know what? I love to get up early. Those early morning hours are when I'm at my most creative and I'm the most productive of the whole day. But you wanna know what else? I stink at keeping a regular sleeping schedule, and I find myself sleeping in way too often. It's always the same excuse. I'll get too excited late at night reading a book, and I'll just read chapter after chapter till it's well past midnight. And seeing as how I read epic fantasy books that tend to be long, this will go on for a couple of weeks at a time, at which point my sleep schedule is completely bonked. Sure, we're going with it. Bonked. Be right back. Our client wishes to inform you, the viewers, that no independent research was conducted for this video, and all facts and research presented should be credited to Andrew Huberman and Huberman Labs and the independent studies analyzed therein. Thank you. Have a pleasant day. Oh, that was a wee bit odd, but absolutely true, the point of it at least. I would be remiss if I didn't point out that all this information came from Andrew Huberman Labs and his excellent podcast. He did all the analysis and research as well as coalescing all the independent studies, so please go check him out. Hey there, I'm Kelly. I'm a father of 6, I'm a full-time software developer at Rescue Time, and I'm Dean of Digital Campus at Signum University. And on this channel, we talk about productivity tips to help you get more done in less time so that you can have more time off pursuing your relationships or your hobbies. I'm going to dive into the weeds a little bit and talk about the biological reasons that the tips I'm going to give you are going to work. But if you just want to jump right to the tips in learning how to reset your sleep schedule and wake up earlier, just jump to the timestamps listed down below or this one over here. Let's begin with the circadian rhythm. It should come as no surprise to you now that your body follows a roughly 24-hour pattern. This pattern is tied to our surrounding environment and helps to regulate our body temperatures as well as our regular sleep and wake schedule and a whole bunch of other things. The big two things that we want to concentrate on in relation to the circadian rhythm and our sleep patterns are external light and our body temperature. Let's start with your body temperature. You see, your body doesn't remain at a constant 98.6, or is it 96.8? One of the two. It doesn't remain at a constant temperature all throughout the day. Instead, as your body temperature is increasing, you're waking up. As your body temperature is decreasing, you tend to get sleepy. Naturally, this is tied to environmental cues, such as sunrise and sunset. When the sun rises and we see all that light, our body temperature starts to increase, and when it sunsets and gets darker, our body temperature is decreasing. We are designed to be awake during the day and asleep at night. But artificial lights have gotten in the way of this. Things like phones and bathroom breaks with the light on full intensity mess with our sleep schedule. Okay, but so what? Who cares if I have a messed up sleep schedule? You know, I'm a night owl. I'm going to stay up all night, or yeah, okay, I'll sleep into 10, or I'll get up at 6 every other day. It doesn't matter, right? Here's the thing. That's wrong. It's actually pretty dangerous and harmful to your body. Recent studies have shown that excessive jet lag over a prolonged period of time can shorten your lifespan. In fact, most people are probably suffering from some form of jet lag just living where they are without traveling at all. And that's just because they don't have a regular sleep-wake schedule. As I've already alluded to, the key reasons behind this are overexposure to bright lights, such as your phone or TV in the middle of the night, or an irregular sleep or exercise schedule. So please, get on a normal sleep routine. It can potentially lead to a longer life. But you know, that's not the only issue. An irregular sleep schedule can also result in hormonal imbalances, which can cause problems of their own. The two key hormones released by our body to help regulate the sleep schedule are cortisol and melatonin. Under normal circumstances, exposure to bright light early in the morning will trigger a release of cortisol, which will help your body wake up and be more alert. It will also start a time delay release of melatonin, which will be released later that evening, which will help you feel sleepy and get ready for bed. By having an irregular sleep schedule and being exposed to bright lights at odd times of the day, we will interrupt this cycle and cause our cortisol and melatonin hormones to be released at inopportune times. This is bad and can cause both physiological and psychological problems, not just not being awake on time. One example is depression. A cortisol release midday has been shown to be associated with depression. The same is true of dopamine, which is the hormone responsible for us wanting more of something. Bright light exposure late in the evening when you should be sleeping interrupts our dopamine schedule and can cause all sorts of problems. Hopefully it should be clear by now that our bodies have a sleep-wake cycle which should be roughly aligned with our natural environment, and that getting exposed to bright lights at the wrong time can wreak havoc with this cycle. Okay, given that though, what is the wrong time? When should we not be exposed to artificial lights? Well, I'll get into specifics in my next video, which is going to be awesome, so stay tuned for that. But it all revolves around the concept of your body's temperature minimum, which tends to be roughly an hour and a half to 2 hours before your average waking time. For now, you just need to know that exposure to bright light in the 4 hours after your temperature minimum will prompt your body to wake up earlier and go to bed earlier. Bright light exposure in the 4 hours before your temperature minimum will cause your body to stay up later and get up later. Once again, I'll get into all the fun details on how to calculate your own temperature minimum in the next video. But for now, let's just talk about some generic details and tips you can use to wake up earlier. I'm about to give you 4 tips on what you can do to naturally wake up earlier overnight, but in reality, you only need to pay attention to this first one. Or let me rephrase that. If you only pay attention to one thing, pay attention to this because it is by far the most important. To reset your clock and to wake up earlier, you need to be exposed to 100,000 lux of light between, say, 5 and 9 a.m. Okay, so what's lux? Well, it doesn't matter. It's just a measurement of the intensity of light and how many photons are being transmitted to your eyeballs, I think. But you don't really need to get into the calculations of measuring this. You just need to know the general basics. And the general basics say it kind of has to be sunlight. You see, an average computer screen, such as my iPad here, produces between 1,000 and 1,500 lux of light. And so that means after a minute, I've absorbed 1,000 lux of light. You're not absorbing the light, but you know what I mean. I have been exposed to 1,000 lux of light. That's the word we're gonna go with, exposed. This means that it would take 100 minutes for you to cross that 100,000 lux threshold. If you wake up at 8 a.m., you're not going to do that by 9 a.m. By being outside and exposed to natural sunlight, you can do this in a fraction of the time. So the tip here is after sunrise, but before 9 a.m., get outside and face the sun and look in that general direction for 5 to 15 minutes. Even if it's cloudy, this will make a bigger difference than using artificial light. Of course, disclaimer here, you don't need to look directly at the center of the sun. Just look in that general direction. If your eyes start to hurt, if it's painful, you're looking at something too bright. You want to do this so you get as much bright light exposure by 9 a.m. because by 10 a.m., your body has entered into the circadian dead zone. This means that no exposure to any light is going to affect your natural circadian rhythm until about, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Your clock will not shift during those hours, no matter how much bright light you are exposed to. If you're going to only take one thing away from this video, it needs to be this. The intensity of light before 9 a.m. is what will shift your clock to wake up earlier. Even though this is the key point, there are a couple of other things you can do to help you shift your clock backwards and to naturally wake up earlier. The next best of these fits into the general category of increasing body temperature. You may have been wondering what you should do during those 5 to 15 minutes of looking outside towards the sun. Well, exercise. Do some light moderate exercise, some jumping jacks or jumping rope or something like that. This short workout will facilitate your body's natural rise in temperature, which we've already said will help you feel more alert. While I haven't done any research into this particular area, people have told me that they feel better and have a better day after doing exercise in the early morning, and I kind of wonder if this has something to do with it. Besides exercise, another easy win is to eat something within 30 minutes of rising. Digesting food not only increases our body temperature, it will also trigger other things to get us ready for the day. Finally, and probably most painful, which is why I haven't done it, is get a cold shower. Bathing temps have an inverse effect on our body. You see, if you get a cold shower, after stepping out of the shower, your body temperature will start to rise. If you get a warm shower after stepping out of the shower, your body temperature will start to drop and you'll get a little sleepy. So getting a cold shower in the morning will actually help you be more alert and reset this natural circadian rhythm. And inversely, getting a nice, relaxing hot bath in the evening before bed will help you fall asleep. Okay, let's shift the time period a little bit. With what I've said so far, you should be pretty well set what you need to do in the morning. Now let's talk about what you should do in the evening. You want to try to be exposed to light around the period of sunset wherever you are. Being exposed to sunlight at sunset will help to downward adjust the sensitivity of our eyes. So this will give us a little bit more leeway to exposure to bright lights later in the evening. Because what you want to try to do is avoid any bright lights between the hours of 10 or 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. in the morning. Because exposure to bright lights during those hours will trigger the exact opposite of what you want. It'll tend to push your body to staying up later and getting up later. Your body needs to be exposed to 100,000 lux of light to properly shift the circadian rhythm in the morning. You only need to be exposed to about 1,000 to 1,500 lux of light to shift it the opposite direction in the evening. which is why it's so crucial to get that exposure to light around sunset, because that will increase this threshold a bit, allowing you to, glance at your phone quickly if you have to in the middle of the night, or just in case, hey, you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and turn the lights on. That little bit of bright light exposure won't negatively affect you. So with these tips, I was able to shift my average waking time from around 8 a.m. to 5 a.m. overnight. I just got up early the next day, made sure to expose myself to plenty of artificial light first and then bright sunlight next, and did a little bit of exercise, a cool shower, not ice cold. I have a well, I'm not putting it on full cold. And you wanna know what? I felt great that day. I got up at 5 the next day. I got up at 5 the next day. I didn't feel drowsy at all any of those days, and I'm continuing this cycle. It's been great. I have one final addendum item I want to make here. At this point, you may be asking about blue blockers. They seem to be all the rage now. Put on these blue blocking glasses, which will block out all that deadly, horrible, soul-destroying, crushing blue light, right? Well, not really. You see, there's nothing wrong with them. Well, I get there is something wrong with them if you're wearing them all day, because you do need to be exposed to bright lights at certain points of the day, as we've already talked about. And if you want to wear them in the evening, that's fine. But the key point to remember here is what matters is the intensity, the amount of light you are exposed to, not the color of the light. Okay. So now, after all that, you may be wondering if there's anything else cool that you can do with this newfound understanding of your body's and the environment's natural cycles. And the answer is yes. With this knowledge, you can prepare yourself for long international trips and completely skip over jet lag. In my next video, I'll be talking about how you can calculate your own temperature minimum and how you can use that as a basis for planning your trip a couple of days in advance to prepare you so that you don't have any jet lag and hit the ground running. Now, before ending, I just want to do another shout out to Andrew Huberman and the Huberman Labs podcast. I learned all of this by listening to a couple of his episodes dedicated to sleep, and it was an amazing experience. He goes into way more detail and is way more knowledgeable than I am on this. I just am presenting you with kind of a condensed version here. If you are at all interested and want to explore further, please check out his podcast. It is amazing, and I want you to support him. I know I definitely am. I subscribed after watching that first episode, and I am planning on watching tons more and condensing some more of his incredibly insightful information into helpful videos for you. So stay tuned. Till next time, bye. Hopefully it should be clear by now that our bodies have a sleep-wake is set. One more time. Okay, nope, I want to say something different then, so let's do this. Our client wishes to inform you that the viewers, this is why I should have it typed up.